So we live together.
Yep.
We watch football together.
Yep.
We talk about football together.
Yep.
Why don't we just start a podcast?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Eye Test. It's your boy Lyés and my guy CultureCams. It's Ballon D'Or approaching very, very soon. So we thought, let's commemorate what we were expecting to be the winner. Let's honor him. Let's speak about his season. Let's talk about the candidates as well in general. But more so than anything, let's give flowers to the soon-to-be announced 2024 Ballon D'Or winner, Vinicius Jr. As always, like, share, subscribe. Shout out to BR for powering the podcast. Check them out on all of their sources, X, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, all that stuff. But Cam, let me go to you for this one. Vinicius Jr. First and foremost, is it deserved?
Yes, I think so. I think it's deserved. I think there's a case. I was looking at the cases for other players, you know what I mean? I spoke about this on my YouTube as well, and I'm like, yeah, there's some pros for some, and there's cons. I think all of them have pros and cons. Do you get where I'm coming from? But I'm just thinking about when I was thinking about last season, at what stage did I say to myself, this guy's the best player in the world? I only said that about Vini. Do you know what I mean? I remember me and you talking on the eye test, and we were like, I mean, how far is Vini off Mbappe, really? Because the common consensus was Mbappe was the best. I was like, bro, these Champions League nights that Vini has, like, are we sure he's not the best? Yeah. That's the only time I had that. I didn't say that for Jude Bellingham once. I didn't say that for Rodri.
At one point said for Jude, I disagree. I remember at
best
one point,
player in the world.
Yeah, I think the first half of the season, I think we were saying, I think me and you, remember we were watching those Champions League group stage performances in La Liga.
But did we
were saying this guy might be the best, bro? Yeah, I think
best player in the world.
I think me and you had that conversation.
I don't think I said best player in the world. I mean, in terms of could he go on and win the Ballon d'Or? 100%. That's why he.
You never thought at one point Jude was playing at the best in the world.
I never thought at one point Jude better than Mbappe, for example. I still don't.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I was thinking at one point he's playing like the best player in the world.
No.
But you're saying you actually think Vini outright is the best player in the world.
Last season, I genuinely looked at it and I thought he's better than Mbappe at this point. Yeah, he's taking the mantle. Rodri, you can argue at some stages, you probably thought he's the best performing player in the world. Jude Bellingham, definitely first half of the season, he was the best performing player in the world, in my opinion. But Vini, I actually started to kind of like rewrite in my mind where he's even ranked. Is he 1? Is he 2? You think about people like KDB, Haaland, and I was like, damn, I actually think Vini might be the best player in the world.
If you look at the season before, right? I feel like Haaland and Mbappe had created kind of like a hierarchy of like these two are the best, because Mbappe, what he did at the World Cup, Haaland, the treble-winning season, 50 goals, and just the way they've been spoken about since they kind of burst onto the scene. These are the ones that take the mantle from the past gen. These are the ones that are going to be the best two in the world. Yeah. And Vini was kind of always like I don't want to call like the
third wheel, man.
Yeah, he's the third wheel, bro. He's like the third sibling. Like you kind of forget about him. Like, oh, he's not as good. He's great, but he's not as good as Mbappe and Haaland. But last season, I kind of hear you, like the performances that he gave us on the biggest stage in the Champions League, the latter rounds, Bayern, City, obviously the final against Dortmund. We were starting to think, whoa, maybe he is on their level. Forget about on their level. Maybe he's
the best,
a notch above them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, look, Ballon d'Or is inconsistent. Ballon d'Or is hard to predict. Like, you don't know what criteria they're going on. One day it's goals, and one day it's stats, next day it's accolades,
narrative.
Next day is narrative. You really can't really predict what the Ballon d'Or is actually judging it on. So I'm only going to do it on how I felt watching last season. And I said, yes, Jude at one point was feeling like the best player in the world in terms of performances and stuff. But then he kind of fell off after a while. The Champions League, he didn't really do much in the Champions League. And you look at Rodri, I personally never felt that Rodri was the best player in the world. I think that he had a great season. I think Rodri's a great player. But I never actually sat there and thought that. And the fact that I felt that for Vini is why I'm going to go along that way. And don't get me wrong, it's not always just going to be like, well, if that person's the best in the world, that means they should win it.
Yeah, because then Messi's going to win it every single year.
Then you'll be like, Messi should win it every year.
He might win it this year. That's okay.
But then there was a lot closer arguments with that. I mean, these guys were going 60 for 60 goals. And and so you do kind of say, oh, who won the Champions League that year? Who came in these moments? But I look at what Vini was doing in the Champions League performance-wise. I look at the way he came clutch in games, sealed off the final as well, which was very fitting. His downside is Brazil, definitely, which is a bonus for Rodri, right? But that's the only downside for me where I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I can understand if people are saying, well, Rodri won with Spain and stuff, but I don't think Rodri gave me that feeling personally that Vini did last season. I just don't.
Let me read to you what the Ballon d'Or have come out and claimed is their three main criteria, because I think that's all, and this is their criteria. I'm still not even convinced by it. I always think that the Ballon d'Or is the most vague, blurred lines award in sport, and it's crazy because it's the most prestigious award, but I never feel like there's actually like a consistent criteria year on year on year. I feel like every single year it's different. Like I remember, for example, and this is coming from a massive Lionel Messi fan. For me, he's the greatest of all time. But 2009, 2010, he won the Ballon d'Or, and he had an amazing season for Barca. He won the league and the cup. But he didn't win the Champions League, didn't score at the World Cup, but he had like an incredible individual season. Like no doubt, he was the best individual. And he won the Ballon d'Or over guys who won the World Cup, and Iniesta and Xavi, and guys who won the treble, and Schneider. And then you look 10 years later, in 2022-23, Haaland has this incredible individual year. He wins everything at club level, but he loses to a guy that performed at the international stage in Messi. So where's the consistency there? Where's the... It's one thing for one person, one thing for another. And there's numerous examples, for example. So I always find the criteria a bit inconsistent, but this is what the Ballon d'Or has come out and said is their current consistent criteria. First of all, this isn't what they have named, but let's be very aware. The Ballon d'Or is now voted on a seasonal thing. It's not a yearly thing. It's the 2023, 24 season.
Yes. I think it's always been that by the way.
That's obviously a newer rule. But regardless, that's what this Ballon d'Or is based on. Then the first criteria, individual performances, decisive and impressive character. Would you say Vinicius?
Individual performances.
Yeah.
And what did they say about character?
Decisive and impressive character.
Yes, that Vini ticks that box.
Second, team performances and achievements.
Real Madrid tick that box.
3, class and fair play.
I mean, Vini's always having beef about his class apparently on the pitch. But
a lot of people if we're gonna go off like social media narratives and his view and fan, people believe that he complains too much, he dives too much. But if you also look at how much he's kind of brought awareness to racism in Spain, his stance on it, like how public he's been about it. When you talk about class and fair play, that has to speak
for his off the pitch class in terms of how he's handled them things is 100%. But I mean, who's ever going to win a Ballon d'Or on class and fair play? So I don't even see why they even have that in there.
It's the third
but to be honest, the only reason why I think...
Zidane.
Yeah, it's because Zidane.
Let's be real, it's Zidane.
Twice in 2000 when Figo won it, and also for the 2006. That's probably why Zidane maybe made that rule for them. But yeah, I mean, you'd have to do something absolutely flagrant for you to be removed off a Ballon d'Or list for fair play. So I think the third one is not really relevant. I'll be honest, class and fair play. But the other two, I mean, Real Madrid tick that off and Vini ticks off the first 100%. So I mean, but at the same time, you can say the same. Does Rodri not tick that off?
That's what I want to bring up to you, right? Because I hear you. I agree. For me, Vinicius would be the guy I voted on for Ballon d'Or. And look, every year there's complaints about the Ballon d'Or. Oh, this guy should win it. This guy should win it. Last year it was again Messi versus Haaland. That was such a polarizing one because it was two completely different storylines there. And you've had ones where Ronaldo and Messi are going for it. You had the Modric one. Yeah. But this year especially feels like very polarizing in terms of who people think deserves to win the Ballon d'Or. I agree with everything you said. And just like you, I think that Vini ticks off all three of those boxes. And yet so many people don't think he should win the Ballon d'Or. Why do you think that's the case? Like, why do you think people think Rodri should win it over him? Why do you think people think Bellingham should win it over him? I even think, look, I wouldn't name him, but if people are trying to go on based on consistency and trophies and numbers, Lautaro Martinez, doesn't he not have a case? No. If you're going off basically everything that people are trying to say, he won more trophies than all of these guys. He won the league, the cup, and the Copa America. None of those guys did that. He's got more goals than all of those guys. Like, based on that, should he not be in the conversation? But why do you think Vinicius has so much backlash towards him?
One reason I think Vinicius does is because personally I think people are actually underwhelmed by the finalists. I think we're looking at Messi. Whether you think he should have won it or not, he's Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
Erling Haaland, he won a treble.
The
He's
numbers
Erling
were
Haaland.
just ridiculous.
The numbers
too.
are, and you already see him as a generational talent. I think people, I'm not saying they're not convinced with Vini, but as you mentioned, it was like Mbappe, it's like Haaland, it's Lamine Yamal. It's like, there's just always somebody that it feels like is more shiny than Vini. And I think it's the case where people are a little bit just underwhelmed with the fact that it's Vini Jr. When you look at the history of the Ballon d'Or, you're going to see Messi's won 1 million, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and all these guys. And it's like Vini, I think people are underwhelmed at his stat chart in the game compared to previous winners. But I think the same thing will be the case for if Rodri won it. And I think the same case will be the case if Jude Bellingham won it. But when I look at Rodri, let's just go on him. I think there's another reason why people are underwhelmed is because you do have a lot of people that are pushing for Rodri to win it. But for me, that's even more underwhelming because of the way I view the game, the way I like to be entertained in the game. It's not a Rodri type. I appreciate Rodri's, amazing, but I want to watch football for Vini's. Do you get where I'm coming from? And then when I look at it, right, I think because Rodri has had this importance to Man City for so long, people want him to get crowned, give him his flowers finally. Me personally, he was not Spain's best player at the Euros. He won best player at the Euros. I was like, fair enough. I think that was kind of, they want to push. It's a narrative base. And
I would agree.
Me,
I didn't
Man
think he was
City,
Spain's best player. I
think
think
was?
Yamal. No, I said I think Yamal was better. I think at
Fabian
some point
Ruiz,
people were talking about
Olmo.
Fabian Ruiz throughout the tournament.
Olmo.
I think Rodri. Yeah, I would agree with that.
He
yeah.
wasn't the best player for
I
me.
wouldn't agree.
Right? He wasn't their best player. And when you go back to Man City as well, in terms of importance, yes, he was important. But Foden was their best player last season for me. Importance doesn't equate to best.
That one I would just, that one I would edge it to Rodri. But I can appreciate the fact that Foden, right, if it's not Rodri, it's Foden.
Yeah.
And you could very easily convince me it was Foden.
I think Foden was their best player last season. However, Rodri is their most important player. But that doesn't necessarily mean it goes hand in hand. Importance doesn't necessarily. There's been times where in fixtures, we needed Park Ji, not saying he's Park Ji-sung level, but Park Ji-sung's our most important player. Doesn't mean he's our best player or our best player on the night even, but he's our most important player for that game. Or give me a better example, because people think I'm saying Park is levels.
I mean, look, let me say this.
Let's say Nemanja Vidic or something.
For me,
not Nemanja Vidic, Matic or something at Chelsea.
Yeah.
His importance off the chain. But he's not better than Hazard.
Do you also think? Do you
than,
also think it's a case as well too? Because this happens all the time with the Ballon d'Or, where people are looking at the most successful player that kind of covers all the boxes of international and club, and saying, okay, well, he won here and he won here, so he has to be there. I mean, the example I always bring up is Schneider. Not saying Schneider didn't deserve the Ballon d'Or, but he was the one that ticked every single box, even though I didn't think he was Inter's best player. And there was an argument: was he even the best player at the World Cup, in which the Netherlands didn't even win? And I look at Jorginho as well too. And Jorginho won with Chelsea and he won with Italy. But was he the best player on either one of those teams? Yeah. I do always feel with the Ballon d'Or that everyone tries to push one guy forward because he covers the most kind of ground.
It takes away feeling.
Yeah. But if you watch that season, and I'm not gonna say Jorginho is better than Rodri. I think Rodri is a better player. But just like I never thought Jorginho was the best player on the planet for that season. Yeah. I also don't think Rodri has been the best player for me. Like when I watched football throughout this season, there hasn't been a single moment where I thought, that guy Rodri, no one in the world can touch him. Yeah. Like the way he's playing right now, no one's performing at a better level.
And the thing is, right, and this is again why I don't want to go back into it, but again why I push for the importance of those awards where you give best midfielder, where you give he got given best player at the Euros. I'm sorry, that should be his crowning moment. You won the Euros, you received best player. I don't think Ballon d'Or is necessary, bro. I'll be honest. I don't think Ballon d'Or is necessary. But I appreciate that he had a great season. A very good year. Spain, win with Man City. But I just, again, as you just mentioned there was moments where last season I was like, wow, Vini, man. You know what I mean? Vini is taking over the biggest games. Doing it on, at a club like Real Madrid, taking over.
Do you think that is attacker bias? For me.
Yes.
And that a defensive midfielder will never really take over a game like that.
100%, which is why I keep calling for
the
Ballon d'Ors to not give out multiple, but like
they started giving they give the Yashin trophy to the best goalkeeper. They give that now that little thing to Lewandowski. They give it to the best striker.
Yeah.
Why not the best
Do you know
midfielder?
how they need to? They need to. Everything's down to media marketing and how you push these things. It needs to be pushed more. It needs to be hyped more. They need to put more around those things because yes, it is biased, bro. It's 100% biased towards attackers. You look at obviously, look again. Any year that Messi's up for it, and it, to be fair, it got so close with the Van Dijk thing. But like Van Dijk, even though he got close, I mean, that's like a one-off. Obviously, Cannavaro, but that was a weird year because that goes against everything they just said on that list, by the way. But you know
even
what I mean?
the fair play. What did Juventus do that year?
literally. So, but just like Van Dijk almost done it, but then after it's like, mate, when's the next time somebody's going to be able to win a Ballon d'Or and you're a defender, you're a right back, you're a defensive midfielder?
But also, you look
It's
at the
not
Van
gonna
Dijk
happen.
thing, and this is why ultimately I agree with you. I think it is a feeling-based award, and that's why I always say sport is a feeling-based metric. Like you can talk about goals, assists, wins, numbers, but at the end of the day, whenever we do, like I've been doing on my second channel these days, tier lists, and I'm honest with these guys. I'm like, when you talk about the best of the best, at one point I'm putting this guy over this guy. You can give me goals, you can give me this guy wins, but it's how do I feel? Like who gave me a better feeling? Who do I enjoy watching more? What's my preference? Van Dijk that year, the reason it's a one-off is because the feeling he was giving people was that this guy's unbeatable.
But you know what it is as well, right? I always say the way you see football, it depends on how you see the game, right? And this also comes down to people that have actually played football as well, right? You might get on the pitch with a Rodri and there's a Foden and there's a KDB and there's whoever, and you might walk away and be like, Rodri's their best player. You might actually say, bro, that Rodri guy, he was the best player. But that's not actually what the casual fan sees in the game. What the casual fan sees is the guy that's scoring goals, the guy that's dribbling, the guy that's exciting the fans, it's the footballers who might be like, wow, I walked away from that. Moussa Dembele, for example, he's always called the most underrated player ever. How many times was he ever called Spurs as his best player?
Never. But
every single person calls him Spurs best. Nobody's walking away saying, clearly has been walking away saying that Harry Kane, he was the best player. That's the fans. That's us. We say the Dele Alli, Harry Kane, best players. Every single player that play against them. Oh no, Moussa Dembele. What?
Yeah.
Moussa Dembele was not winning no Player of the Years, bro.
Yeah, never.
He was not winning no Ballon d'Ors. And those are the ones where you just appreciate them. You know, you just appreciate them. Real football lovers appreciate them. I appreciate Rodri massively. But what I think they want to push for stuff like the Ballon d'Or, you're going to need the one that's getting people off their feet. You're going to need the one that's scoring goals, that's exciting fans. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. It's attackers bias. We are all attackers bias, bro. All of us go to football matches to see great attacking. Yeah. None of us go to football match to watch 11 Rodris. We don't.
Well, I mean, that's the same reason why Rodri had an amazing year the year before this.
Yes.
No one pushed for Rodri to win the Ballon d'Or. Why? Because Erling Haaland scored 50 goals.
And thank you. And even then, he scored the Champions League final winner. Even then, bro, I promise you, maybe it sounds like I'm dissing Rodri, but I'm not. 2021 season, I think it is, I still have tweets saying, why is Rodri not winning the Player of the Year? So I've been on this Rodri, like, I appreciate that his importance to City is incredible, but I just don't think I think there is an attacker's bias, and I'm part of that. I am part of that. I don't really want to see a Rodri win a Ballon d'Or, I'll be honest. Anyway.
But like I was saying, right, I think the thing that hurts Vini is the fact that he's going to be the first victim, really, of this post-Messi. And I don't even want to say just post-Messi and Ronaldo. Mm-hmm. I think that era of the likes of Xavi and Iniesta, Modric, Pirlo, Hazard, Neymar, Suarez, Lewandowski. I have to say this, right? I'm a little younger than you. I started watching football a little after you. Yeah. But from my footballing lifetime, that era is the best I've seen in terms of like the mid-2010s. Yeah. I think the level of the players that we had that I've seen, that's the best I've seen. Yeah. And I don't even want to talk about Messi and Ronaldo because obviously they're just a gulf above. But you look at the players that were just a tier below them that never won a Ballon d'Or because of those two. I feel like fans they feel an injustice that Vini is winning it when players that they believe had more distinguished careers than Vini or were just flat out better than him didn't get the chance to have that same award. like a Neymar. I think Neymar is the one more than anything because
Iniesta.
no one thinks Vini is better than Neymar, but Vini's going to win an award that Neymar didn't get to. No one is thinking at the current moment Vini has had a better career than Suarez, but Suarez never even came close to this award. Iniesta, Xavi. And I think Vini is, for me, the first guy who's really feeling the burden of that because he's of this new gen. Benzema, Lewandowski, I think they're still part of that generation where
legends,
they finally got their shine.
Yeah.
But Vini, it's like, he's getting
First
something
of
that
the new gen.
Exactly.
First
right?
of the new
exactly,
gen.
Exactly. And he didn't have an Erling Haaland season where it was like unquestionable if he had won it. But really, you can't look at it as like a legacy award or a career award. Vini's season that he just had, winning La Liga, the Champions League, and scoring in massive Champions League games, that's a Ballon d'Or worthy season. There have been players in the past. Okay, there were players who maybe did more that didn't win a Ballon d'Or, but there's also players that probably did less and won the Ballon d'Or. Right? We're going to talk about Nedved in a future episode, right? Because we both have views on that. But whether you think Nedved deserved to win that Ballon d'Or or not, Nedved didn't win as much as Vinicius the year he won it. What were his stats like compared to Vinicius? I would imagine they were
14 goals, 17 assists.
Yeah, Vinicius is probably around that ballpark, bro. He probably is around that ballpark. And it's not like in 2003, Nedved had an international campaign to even do anything. So you look at Michael Owen as well, too. What is it, 2001?
Yeah.
Did he win more? Oh, I guess he low-key did because he won the UEFA Cup and stuff like that. But was his year overall much more extraordinary than Vinicius's was? No. So I understand Vini when you come to the 05 Dino or 010 Messi or 15 or 14 Ronaldo. Yeah, okay, fine. This is not a vintage Ballon d'Or worthy season. But is it a Ballon d'Or worthy season? I do think so, bro. I think if most players have a season where they win their main league and the Champions League and their fingerprints are as strongly defined on it, they are a contender and a massive one at that.
Bro, it's all down to eras, right? It's all down to eras. Vini can't do nothing but play in this era that he's in.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. So when you talk about Ballon d'Ors, when you talk about Player of the Years, it's all about who you were competing with at that particular time. And not enough people put stock into that. They just think if you win a Ballon d'Or, that means boom, like you were
1000%.
No, it's all in, and we're gonna see more winners like Vini. Right now, who's fronting the Ballon d'Or this year?
This year, right now,
Is
this
it lower?
season.
Is it lower? He's actually killing it right now.
Yamal is doing incredible.
Yamal,
things as well,
lower.
too.
Haaland
before,
but he's
Haaland
on a little
he's
drought
gonna be in
right
that
now.
conversation. Yeah, of course.
So anyway, let's say next season we're gonna say the same thing. The season after, it's gonna be that way because, as you mentioned, there's a whole generation that came up on those type of players, and there is a lot of people that didn't win it. That some people say, oh, maybe their status should have won it, but it depends on who you're coming up against in that time. For example, some people see Iniesta as the GOAT midfielder. Let's say Zidane has 3 World Player of the Years, or is it 2 Ballon d'Ors and 3 World Player of the Years, or whatever it is. Yeah. So why you guys? So if it's going on that kind of logic, then Zidane's the GOAT.
Yeah,
do you get coming from?
What, second? Because he has a Ballon d'Or.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't really matter. Iniesta was not winning a Ballon d'Or in a Messi and Ronaldo era.
Yeah, he came second, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, some people could say, well, it was an R9 in that era, but you get the drift, right? It's hard to compete in those type of situations. And
you're competing against 2 freaks who score 60 a season, bro. Like
exactly.
It's
so Vini's just doing what he can do in this era. Everyone is, and that's why when the Ballon d'Or lists and stuff drop now, I don't even really talk about it anymore because it's the same thing every year. Everyone's gonna make the screenshot of the last 30 people, get the screenshot of 2001s, 2007s, and we're going to all post it. We're going to say the game has fell off, which, hey, listen. Oh, is that you, yeah? To be fair, I didn't even know.
You got me.
No, but the thing is, to be fair, look, I'm in full agreement with it, but it's just the way the game is now. Like, it's just the way the game is. And yeah, look, I'm an advocate of games gone in terms of highest level of talent. Let me tell you that.
When the older speaks.
Yeah, but we're going to just have to accept that's just the way it is. You know what I mean? I can't knock Vini for that because Neymar didn't win it, because Iniesta didn't win it, because it doesn't really matter. And that's why even when people use those type of things, I guess Ballon d'Or is the highest, but even when you think about like discussions about like, I don't know, Premier League players, let's just say, and somebody might say, yeah, well, I don't know, this person won a Ballon and won the Player of the Year and this person hasn't. I'm just like, but again, it depends on who they're competing with at that particular moment, what the situations. There's so much variables than just saying, do you know what I mean? Than just saying, oh, because that person won this, that means they're above that person in a ranking or whatever. There's a lot more nuance to those type of discussions. But I want to give a final shout out to Vini, because he's the first Brazilian to win it since Kaká, which is crazy because the lineage of Brazilian winners, you're talking about Rivaldo, R9, Ronaldinho, Kaká.
Yeah.
You're talking about some legends of the game, and everyone, of course, thought it was going to be Neymar to potentially continue it, but then it ends up becoming Vini, and we just got to give a shout to Vini, man, from where it started. You know what I mean, bro? Benzema literally said, "Hey, you're playing against us," and it became one of the biggest memes in the world at the time, and especially
really
in
got it out
football
the
media.
mud, man. He got it out the mud.
He got it out the mud, man. He didn't come with the reputation of a Neymar into this country. He came as a hot talent, but he didn't come with the reputation of a Neymar. He didn't even come with the reputation of Esteval right now, who's playing for Brazil at 17. He didn't. So he had to make it work. In the beginning, he was inconsistent. His decision was wrong. We saw the skill, but we didn't see any end product. To go on and evolve into this leader, on pitch leader in terms of on the ball for Real Madrid. When they need a get out card, it's Vini. When they need a clutch goal, it's Vini. When they need a big Champions League performance, it's Vini. So for him to go and be the first Brazilian since Kaká to win it, congratulations to him, bro. He's now in history with those legendary Brazilians. So massive shout out to Vini for that.
Nah, 1000%, man. I think you summed it up perfectly, because I remember this guy when he first came to Real Madrid. Like, he was so raw. You could tell there was something about him, but I don't think anybody in their wildest dreams could have ever imagined that, 4 or 5 years later, forget about the Ballon d'Or, would he even be considered one of the best players in the world? Yeah. I think his emergence has been crazy. And when you talk about players that have really, like, year on year on year improved as much as Vinicius has. You look at the likes of Mbappe and Haaland. I'm not saying they haven't improved, but, like, you saw it in them from the word jump. Yeah. Like, Haaland at Molde, and then at Dortmund, and then at City. It's just been, like, constant greatness. Mbappe, from, what is it, from Monaco, PSG, the French national team. He's the chosen one, they were calling him. Vinicius every year has added something to his game, but the one thing that he's kept constant, and the one thing that makes it keeps him true to himself, and it makes Vinicius is his relentlessness. That's something that you can't teach. It's not a technical quality. It's not how many goals can you score. His willingness to continue driving at defenders, going towards goal, never kind of giving up, short memory, I call it. I think it's so admirable about it. And if you ask me what makes Vinicius, that's that. Yeah.
Entertainer as well, man.
Yeah.
He's still an entertainer.
And that's the thing why I don't understand why people have such a big issue with Vinicius. Like, forget about even the Ballon d'Or. I think a lot of people really dislike Vinicius. And sure, people will say, oh, it's the antics. It's the constant crying. But I look at what Vinicius represents, and he's like a lost relic when you talk about, like, modern day football. He's like someone of the past in terms of guys who want to rainbow flick, guys who want to do elasticos, guys who want to make their defenders look foolish. And in an era now where so much is predicated on production and just keeping it simple and efficiency, he, for me, he's a breath of fresh air, man. He's a breath of fresh air.
The thing is, he puts up good numbers and he still entertains. He doesn't have this thing where he just wants to poach or anything. He still wants the ball to feet, still wants to entertain, he still wants to do his things. And lastly, as you're talking about the racism side of things, bro, after everything that he's gone on off the pitch, crying literally in press conferences, having big meetings with FIFA and the UEFA and all of that type of stuff, for him to kind of show everyone is stupid. Everyone is saying all these racist, you're idiots. I'm going to still win. I'm still going to score against this team. I'm still going to dance. And hey, in December, you're watching me lift the Ballon d'Or, bro. Crazy. What kind of get back is that? That is absolutely perfect. And I just hope he continues pushing the message that he's pushing. But that just adds to his arsenal. And that's another reason why I'm absolutely buzzing for him to win the Ballon d'Or, man.
Vinicius Jr., big up you, man. Big up you. Let us know in the comments section down below. Is he a worthy winner? If not, who is it and why is that the case? What do you think of the Ballon d'Or in terms of, at this point, should it have as much allure around it as it does? Give us all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Like, share, subscribe. This channel is booming right now, man. The videos have been doing really, really well, so we appreciate you guys for enjoying them. Shout out BR, of course, for pushing this on X, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, all of the above. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Peace.